My name is Dustin Noji, and I'm the Interim Director of Admissions here at the University of California, Merced, and I will be serving as your moderator today. I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation, the School of Engineering. I'd like to review a few things with you before we get started, just so you can maximize your experience. The first thing, to change your volume, use the audio settings in the lower left-hand corner of your screen. Click the button and a dialog box will appear on your screen, and you can make any adjustments necessary. Next, let's talk about how to ask questions during today's panel. Well, you can use the Q&A button located at the bottom part of your screen, and you're welcome to type in questions during the presentation. After you've been done typing a question, you can go ahead and click send. Just a note, for today's presentation, we will not be using the raise hand feature. Again, if you have questions, please type them into the Q&A module. Lastly, there's a link at the top of your screen that allows you to adjust the size of your window. Click on View Options. And finally, today, if you miss any portion of today's presentation or any of our other sessions, we will be recording the webinar and make it available to you on our Bobcat Day webpage. So at this time, we'd like to get started. I want to hand it over to our expert speaker today, our Dean of the School of Engineering, Mark Matsumoto.
Thank you, Dustin. I hope everybody can hear me. This is really kind of interesting these days of being able to share via remotely things. So I'm going to share my screen a little bit as I talk about the School of Engineering. So on behalf of the faculty and staff and the students in the School of Engineering, welcome. We're glad you could join us today, and I'm really happy to talk about engineering at UC Merced. But I'm going to start generally talking about just engineering in general. I know engineering is not a normal subject in high school, but it is an important profession. And I just want to give a little background. But first, I want to just kind of start really generally and talk a little bit about just your education journey. So for a lot of the people in the audience, you're going to transition from secondary, high school, to college, to going to an undergraduate, to get a degree and a bachelor's degree in something, whether it's in engineering or natural sciences or social sciences, humanities or arts. And so that's a thing you're going to do. And you know, for some of them who are more dedicated and want to go on, you can go to graduate school, and there's even more education on that. So you're on some kind of journey. But generally speaking, at some point in time, what you're going to try to do is you're going to look for a job and a career. So the question is where are you going to jump off on the journey? Is it right after high school to get a job? Are you gonna wait until after you graduate get your bachelor's degree before you do that? Or maybe you're very ambitious and you'll go into graduate school before you go to your career. Or if you're really interested in a research career, then you would go on for a postdoctoral position into a career. And so there's a lot of jumping off points in there. And so, but what are the advantages? Maybe something to ask yourself, what's the advantage of going that far into school? Well, I think you're exploring going to college for a lot of different reasons. And of course, one of the things is I'm sure your parents and as anybody who follows these types of things, education opens up opportunities. And just to give you some ideas about what that is, depending on the levels of education you have, so those are median salaries, that's the middle average, not the average, it's the middle of where the salaries that are received based on your level of education. And as you can see, the more education you get, the higher median salary you're most likely going to achieve. And that's one of the reasons, of course, that you would like to get a college education, because it opens up those types of opportunities. And what you can see also on the right is that it will also give you greater opportunities not to lose a position or be out of work, because the more that education you have, more likely you will be employed. So something to think about, and to why you're going to college and why you want to pursue it and complete it. And I want to just change a little bit about engineering a little bit. So why engineering? Well, a lot of people don't know much about engineering, but actually engineering is a great road between those that are artistic and those that are scientific. It's a great discipline for creative people, and we'll talk about a little bit more about why that is. And then it's for people who like to build and improve things. You're tinkerers, you like to explore, you want to see, will this work, that work, those kinds of things. The other thing is that you want to think about new things you want to make, something that's new, something that may be helpful, those kinds of things. And we do things that benefit people. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And we really, what we focus on is solving problems and confronting challenges. So that's what we try to do when we pursue engineering as a career. It's for those that are in engineering, this is what they talk about as why they pursue it. So there's a lot of job satisfaction in engineering. It's very intellectually satisfying. You get to use your mind and your creativity in doing a lot of different things. That's a very dynamic career. It's not the same over and over. There's a lot of new things that go on all the time. And you actually help people directly. And we'll explore that a little bit more as we go along. It also opens up an enormous variety of career opportunities, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. And generally speaking, the money isn't bad either. Actually, it's pretty good. If you look at those that are just graduating with bachelor's degrees, usually engineers and computer sciences have the highest entry-level salary. So it's a good thing to do. And generally speaking, you're a respected member of society. Usually doesn't mean you're a party animal, but it usually means that you are respected. You may be considered a nerd, though. That's one of the disadvantages. I have to admit that. Anyway, what is it that we do? Well, we think a lot about engineers and they build things, and we think about highway systems. Whether or not you think this is a very useful thing, right? Highways and roads, engineers build those, and there's a lot of traffic jams. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have to live with those. And so they are important, and engineers work on those. But actually, they've been doing things for a long time. Now, this car, it looks like, yeah, it's really old and different things. But believe it or not, this is the first electric vehicle. So when cars first came out, they were actually electric. And so we've kind of gone for 100 years or so before we're starting to turn out cars in mass that are a lot electric with a lot of different advances. So this is a Porsche, electric Porsche, if you're interested in there. And we've transformed telephones that we've seen like this in the old movies we've seen. And we all are familiar with cell phones now, where they're not connected by wires and different things. This is what engineers do. They work on these types of things. This is the first computer, ENIAC, which basically could probably do less than your calculator could do at home. But you can see the size of the room. But now we made it so that anybody of any age can work on a computer right in our home. And fortunately, we're able to do that now using technology for this presentation. So these are the kinds of things. It's in the transportation, aerospace. We also work on things like prosthetics to help people that have lost their limbs so that they can do functions, like all sorts of different things. We also work on things like artificial organs, artificial hearts, things like these. These are the kinds of things that we do. And so basically engineering is all about how we transform society in different ways, usually by building and creating things. The interesting thing is that it's not just always about building things and creating things. It's also gives us greater opportunities. Now, here's 6 people. For those that are very familiar with the different people, you can figure out they're heads of Apple, Tim Cook, and the head of Microsoft, Amazon, Mary Barra's GM, Jerry Stoppelman Yelp, and Larry Page is the head of Google, or was there. But the interesting thing is that they were all engineers as undergraduates. And so that's a very common thing, is that a lot of the CEOs of major companies come from engineering. 33% of CEOs majored in engineering as an undergraduate, but only 11% as business administration. And this is typical over the years. So engineering is a great entryway into larger things in terms of these things, because basically we focus on how to solve problems and address challenges. So what about engineering at UC Merced? So this is Science and Engineering 2, and my little virtual background, I'm standing on the other side of Science and Engineering 2. But what about it? So where has engineering gone? Well, a little bit about our history. We, just like the campus, we started in 2005. We have 140 undergrads, started in 2005 with 140 graduates. But today there's nearly 2,200, and we expect more this coming year, more than 2,200 students. And while we may be the smallest overall campus in the UC system, the engineering school here is not the smallest engineering school. Actually, we're larger than 2 other engineering schools in the UC system. So it's important to realize that engineering is a big part of what we do here at UC Merced. And we have a lot of different buildings, and things are opening all the time. So one of the things is that a lot of people appreciate is we have a lot of new buildings, and the facilities are top notch. So we are very proud of what we have available to us in engineering. We have 5 engineering majors this year: bioengineering, computer science and engineering, environmental engineering, material science and engineering, and mechanical engineering. And starting not this fall, but the next fall, we'll introduce another engineering major, civil engineering, in fall 2021. So that's there. There are additional programs being planned, but those are future down the road. And there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding, as a result of COVID-19, what will happen. But we are planning for additional majors as well at the undergraduate level. We have outstanding faculty here at the UC Merced that's been growing. When I started here 5 years ago, we had about 38 faculty members, up to 64 faculty members. We continue to grow. We have these faculty members are excellent in their research endeavors. They are world-class in their endeavors that they do. They bring in millions of dollars every year in research awards to help support their research here, hire graduate students, and have undergraduate students involved. They come from top universities across the country, actually globally. They come from all over. They come here because of the opportunities that we provide. We're a startup, things are growing. It's a very young campus, it's very dynamic, and so it's a very good place for them to grow as a researcher. And we also, although small, we have excellent graduate programs and students that are involved that help support that research enterprise. And we also have very strong industry connections that we're proud of. We also have excellent teaching. Besides their research, faculty members have very strong teaching skills. It's very important in our hiring decisions. We look at how they've done in the past. We actually have them sit and talk with different students and different things to gauge how they will do in their teaching. And it's very important in terms of as they progress in their career. If they don't do well in teaching, they will not advance. So that's very important. Each course is also evaluated by the students, both in terms of the content, what did they learn, did they achieve the course goals that were established at the beginning, and also how did the instructors do. And the students can give constructive input to the faculty members of how maybe they can improve the course. And engineering students generally rate the teaching higher. Out of a scale of 10, the average is almost 6 for all the teaching here. So it's very, very good. And beyond that, we have still kind of a small school mentality, although we have a lot of undergraduate engineering students. We have many of them involved in research, working directly with faculty and other graduate students in the research labs. It's not common necessarily at other campuses, but it's something that we embrace here, and we think that it's very important for them to engage because it allows them to use their skills and learning towards new things, technologies that are maybe developing, or new information and these types of things. So they learn how to apply what they've been getting in the classroom to actual situations for research. We also offer a well-rounded education. We have here, we focus on both theoretical and practical orientation. Many of you have maybe gone to an open house at a Cal State or another UC campus, and a lot of the times you hear the talk about, well, we focus more on theory, or we more focus on hands-on types of things. What we try to do here is we try to put those two together. We have a hands-on approach. We have a lot of courses that have laboratory hands-on components. We use state-of-the-art equipment in those laboratories. We also focus on team design, teamwork in terms of different endeavors. We have projects where we have engineering service learning, where the projects are for nonprofit organizations, where students work to develop technology solutions to help nonprofit organizations. And we have a capstone senior design project that is totally 100%. We work directly with companies. So these are the projects companies put forward, and that the student teams work on those problems, and sometimes they even develop into real products. As we've had a few startup companies come out of those things. So that's the Innovation Design Clinic. It's start to finish experience doing those kinds of things. And we're very proud of that. And in fact, on May 15th, we're going to have a showcase, although it's going to be virtual this year, of those senior design projects. And we, as I said before, we have a lot of student-faculty interactions in undergraduate research. Further, we try to develop networking skills amongst our students. We have a lot of professional organizations where students can interact with other students that have interest in these areas, and they can interact on a national scale with other students that are pursuing these things, as well as what we would call the paired organizations. These are working professionals in these different areas that have direct interactions with students. And many of the times our students go to conferences where they interact with the working professionals. Well, I started talking about the education journey and where it leads to. And the question is, well, where do they get jobs? So here's a short listing of all the different places where our graduates have gone. And basically, best way I can tell you is they can go most anywhere they go if they put in the work and they do the work to find out where a job would be a good match for them. And we try to prepare them well so that they are prepared to position themselves in terms of experience and background to match the jobs. And so those are the kinds of things that we do. And for some, as I said, some of them go on. And so some of the other ones, they go into many different schools for graduate programs. Besides here, they come here, but they go to other places, very top universities across the country. And so there's a lot of opportunities for our students upon their graduation. So where do they go? Well, we are a University of California campus, and so our main focus is on helping the economy of the state and providing resources, particularly human resources to the state. And as you can see by this little heat map, this shows where our graduates go. So the red is hot. That's where most of our students go, and you can see it's covering California. There's a few green areas along the East Coast in Florida, some in Houston, some in Colorado, Washington, and the New England states. But the majority of our students, when they get a job and they graduate, they're here in California. So in essence, they're serving the state that educated them, and that's what we're very proud of. And where within the state, here's where it is. You can see it's concentrated, and it's kind of a distribution of where our students are, although it's a little bit different. So really, a third of our students come from the Central Valley, but actually a higher fraction of our students do stay in the Central Valley to provide engineering services and computer information technology services to the companies up and down the valley, but also in Southern California, the greater Los Angeles area, as well as the Bay Area. So just gives you some flavors of what happens here in the School of Engineering and the opportunities that are available for our students. So right now we're going to turn our attention to you and answering questions. And I have one of our staff members, one of our lead advisors in the School of Engineering, Carla Gonzalez, and she'll be joining us. And Dustin and the rest of his crew will be here to answer any questions you may have. Again, use the question and answer tool that's available to you, and they will try to address those questions. And I'll remain on line too to answer any questions that I may be able to do that. So thank you very much. I'm going to turn off my slideshow, and so hopefully then we can have the question and answer.
Awesome. Thanks again, Mark, for that great presentation. So again, go ahead and type your questions into the Q&A module, and we will start to take them live. So our first question today is about the LLCs. What LLC do most engineering majors participate in?
Mark,
Go ahead, Carla.
I don't. Yeah.
Let me tell you this. So the living learning communities are not really school specific. So there's a number of them, and it's really up to the student interest to decide. So like there's one like careers other than medical education for those that have bio interests. So for like bioengineering students can participate in that. We also have one that's related around sustainability. So there's people in the environmental engineering that can participate in that as well. And then there's some people that are interested in social equity issues, and they would get involved in that. And that's not limited by, it's not by school, it's by what the student interest is. And actually, I would encourage engineering students to participate in the ones like in the social justice and equity ones, because they will bring a different viewpoint to the conversation compared to some of the other students. And so it's a good thing for them to participate in.
Awesome. Here's a question for you. How is the bioengineering environment, and what should I expect as an incoming student?
Bioengineering, so one of the things I'll call it our mid-sized major. And so it has a pretty good student to faculty ratio. It's about 20-1. So it's really a nice proportion. There is a combination of both kind of more medical types of things, but it focuses on two aspects really. It goes towards what we call biomolecular types of engineering. That's genetic engineering, protein engineering, those types of things. And the other part of it is more towards devices, biomedical devices. So those are diagnostic tools like MRI and those kinds of designs of systems. So it's a combination of different things. There are lab courses. I'll just give you some ideas. So for senior design projects, we actually partner with UC San Francisco on a number of projects, and I'll just give you some ideas of what projects they've designed for that. One is they developed a censored walker for the elderly, because one of the things is that elderly, despite using walkers, actually fall quite frequently using a walker, and they don't know why. So the students developed a censored walker so they could detect the movement of the people and what happens and what causes them to fall. So this is for a research purpose with UCSF so that they can improve walker design so that they won't do that. So that's just one example in bioengineering.
Great. We're getting lots of questions about different opportunities to perhaps change majors. So we're going to take one right now. It says, is it possible to change major from a CSE to a mechanical engineering major?
Yes, it is possible for you to change majors. There are change of major criteria, and those will be given to you by your academic advisor probably within your first semester at UC Merced. Your academic advisor through the Bobcat Advising Center will tell you what that information is, and you could potentially change majors as early as spring semester. You can contact your Bobcat advisor and let them know that you are desiring to change majors and to what. That way they can help you plan your fall courses to reflect that new major.
Awesome. Thanks, Carla. Okay, some other questions that are coming in today have a lot to do with the placement examination. So for the math test placement exam, is it going to include all types of math or engineering math?
It is a variety of different math levels. Exactly what it is testing you mostly on is to know your calculus competency. So if you are able to pass the calculus competency exam or pass the placement exam, you'll be placed into your first calculus level, which is Math 21. If you're not able to pass that, then you will be placed onto Math 5. There are students who take AP exams, and depending on the score is equivalent to placing into a math level or placing out of the placement exam. But my recommendation is if you do not know what your AP exam scores are, or you're thinking that you may receive a 3 or lower on your AP exam scores, please make sure to take the calculus competency exam.
Great. So this one is...
I'm so sorry. It's
okay.
a calculus placement exam, not the competency exam. Calculus placement exam.
No problem. And then, Carla, did you want to mention some of the new placement exams we have for computer science and engineering?
So this upcoming fall, we will be requiring all students who are interested in majoring in computer science and engineering to take a computer science and engineering placement exam. You will receive more information about that through your portal and through admissions, and more information to come on it. Just know that you will be required to take it. If you're thinking of changing majors into computer science and engineering, you will also be eligible to take it. It will place you into a programming level as well.
Great. Okay, so lots of different questions about some of our very specific programs. So here's one. Can anyone answer, do engineering students have the ability to build drones in classes on campus?
Do they have the ability to build drones? Yes, they do have the ability to build drones. We have a very active club that works with clubs. Actually, we have what's called the Mesa Lab. We have like 70 or 80 drones that they build, and they use them for different purposes. So there's actually a whole club. Actually, we're offering an unmanned aerial vehicle class this summer. So yes, they can do that. And so just to give you some ideas of what kinds of things these drones do, they don't just only take pictures, they're also linked to artificial intelligence systems. So as they're flying over fields, they can assess basically the quality of the growth of the crops that are going on, and if there's any issues, and they will automatically alert the growers of these issues. So there's a wide variety of things that they can do with the drone.
So it sounds like one of the programs that lots of students were asking questions about is our environmental engineering program. Can either of you talk about what it's like to be an environmental engineer at UC Merced?
Well, I can tell you I'm an environmental engineer by training, so I can tell you what it's like to be a dean. No, I'm just kidding. So the thing about environmental engineering, so it's really a broad field, but what we do is that a lot of the emphasis is on sustainability. In other words, we're looking at the environment from a sustainability point of view. So how does climate change affect the environment, and what are the ways that we can help mitigate that, coming up with solutions for those types of things. There's a field work involved in that. It's also related to water resources. It's also actually related to renewable energies. So if you think about three things: food, how to make that sustainable and safe and minimal impact to the environment. Same thing with water. How do we conserve it? How do we make sure that it's good quality and those types of things? And energy. How do we minimize our carbon footprint and all those different things? Anything that goes into that is what happens to the environmental engineering program. And there are a lot of activities associated with it. That's, as I said, that was one of the living learning communities. So that's a really great opportunity for students to do that.
Perfect. And then Carla, there's a lot of questions coming in now that we've announced the placement exam for computer science. Will AP computer science exam exempt me from taking the CSE placement exam?
It will, if you score a 3 or higher on the AP Comp Sci A exam. So UC Merced does not accept any other Comp Sci exam. So I do recommend that you take it so you place directly into your first level of computer science, and that way you don't have to go into our pre-computer science sort of course.
Great. Okay, here's one for you. This one I think I can take. I've paid my SIR deposit of $250. Is there anything else I need to do to secure my spot? So at this point, if you submitted your SIR deposit and you're an incoming first-year student, you'll still need to apply for housing. In addition, all of our admissions are what we call conditional. So you'll need to forward to us your official transcripts and official test scores or AP test scores. Our priority deadline to receive that information is July the 1st. However, we know there might be some additional delays due to the current situation. And so we've extended that to the first day of class. But the sooner you can get us those documents, the better. And then that way we can finalize your admission. And we hope to greet you here on campus in the fall. Okay. Again, a lot of questions about very specific programs. So what should a student expect in mechanical engineering class?
Okay, what should they expect? Well, mechanical engineering is one of the larger programs. It's actually, I think it's the second or no, it's the third largest program on campus. So it is more, it has definitely more students per faculty. So mechanical engineering, though, they're very, I'll call it, how should I call it? They're very proud of their major. And so there's a lot of activities that go into mechanical engineering. So the drone group that was asked before, that's in mechanical engineering. And so they do that. There's another group that works on the power types of things, the renewable types of things. And there's actually, believe it or not, there's that group that works on water sustainability as well. So they do a variety of different things. And so they really were the forerunner for what I talked about, the capstone design. They were the first ones to do that and institute it. And so it's grown to the other majors, and I think it's better as a result. So we have majors, when they do the capstone design, we have not just all mechanical engineers on a project. We have mechanical engineers with an environmental engineer, possibly with a bioengineer. So they give different perspectives to the project they're working on. And so that's what we intend to do for that. So there's a lot of different things. So also, the mechanical engineering also a lot of their faculty have a lot of undergraduates working in their laboratories. So there's a lot of interactions directly with the faculty.
Great. A question from a transfer student. So I'm a transfer student with all my math and physics and chemistry courses completed. Do I still need to take the placement exams?
No, transfer students don't need to take the placement exams except for the computer science. If you're going to be a computer science and engineering major, we request that you do take the placement exam. But all other majors are not required to take that since you've already completed those levels of calculus and you've already completed past your first level of calculus.
All right. So one of the things that is brought up is UC Merced's connection with internships, other countries, and opportunities after graduation. Would someone like to talk about the different internships that engineering students can participate in?
Sure, we actively do that. So we work closely with the Career Center. It's actually the Center for Career and Professional Advancement there. And we have a specific staff person named Elizabeth Adelano, who specifically looks for internships for engineering students. And they're posted on I'll call it what's called Handshake. It's a thing where things are posted, opportunities for students. We definitely encourage students to participate. For the last 3 years, I've been teaching professional development. This is a course that helps prepare students know what they should be doing to prepare themselves to get a job when they leave the door. And this is one of the first things I will tell them is that you need to get an internship to position yourself well, because what the first thing as an employer is going to look at, did you have any experience? And so this is what we encourage them to do. So generally speaking, those are through summer experiences, but there are also other things. The undergraduate research opportunity is one. And also you can even do education abroad. You talked about countries, and that's an opportunity. We spent some time, if you're looking for a great opportunity where they speak English and they have great engineering internship opportunities, Singapore is a great place to go. We had a couple of our students go there.
In addition to that, we also have a program that's called Engineering Service Learning. It is a group-based project that students can get involved in from their very first semester. You can talk to your academic advisor if it fits into your schedule, but what it is, it's a combination of community partners or people that need some sort of request, and they work with a student group, and that student group through that engineering service learning work together with a community partner to come up and develop some sort of product. It's a great opportunity for first-year students to get involved.
Awesome. So another question, I think this one's about our computer science program. How large is the computer science engineering major at UC Merced?
It's the largest engineering major that we have. And it's the second largest on the campus behind biology. Mm-hmm. So it's a very active program. So it is large, no question, a very popular major. We have, as I said, the senior capstone innovation design club started with mechanical engineering, but now computer science has embraced that as well. And so for all of our students that go through computer science, they also will work on a capstone design, working directly with the company on different things. So there's a lot of great experience working in those areas. So yeah, it is large, but there's a lot of support there. We have a lot of clubs associated with it. And so.
Great.
And we've been pretty good about trying to make sure that all of our students, all engineering students, are able to enroll in courses that are needed for them to complete and graduate on a timely manner.
So this is one that we see, or I often hear from students in the field. For the computer science and engineering major, would the program focus more on the science part or engineering, or is it really a mixture of both?
It is a mixture of both. So it's important to realize that. So over time, computer science, computer engineering, they've gotten closer and closer together. So if you're old like me, computer science actually was an offshoot of mathematics, not like physics or something. It was mathematics. And so basically it was more about algorithms and those types of, that's the really hardcore computer science and those types of things. And then as time develops, so once you have algorithms, then there's programming that goes with it. And there's a lot of different things. And actually programming is a logic endeavor. How do you logically sequence those algorithms to produce some output? And so that was where computer science extended. Now, and it was mostly for nerdy types, unfortunately. This is all we use that. So, but as we've progressed, what we've seen is that software is useful for the masses, right? We produce apps, we produce software programs that you can use via your internet, Java, all those different things. In reality, yes, it is software, but that is engineering. You're doing something to produce a solution. That's what engineers do. So computer science has moved into that. Traditionally, computer engineering was about the hardware. You design a computer, it does this, and does, how you have embedded systems inside the central processing unit and all those kinds of things. But those things have all merged together. So when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's both hardware, software, and that's now becomes why it's computer science and engineering. It's all merged together.
Okay, that's great. So because of our proximity to Yosemite National Park, are there any special engineering programs or internships with Yosemite?
Well, maybe somebody can explain the Yosemite internship program, which is an opportunity.
So there are
We also have done, go ahead.
No. There are several opportunities for students to get involved and to be part of that. There are some clubs and some organizations that do that. There are for environmental engineers, they have to do their 184 or 183, which is their sort of hands-on field experience. And so some of that also relates to going outdoors and participating in that.
So students also who get involved with the faculty in their research, we have a research station up in Yosemite in Wawona, and so they can spend time in there. So we also have, as part of that, we have a whole network of sensors that during the snow season is detecting how much actual snow is on the ground. And so for those that don't know, usually when they test how much snowpacks have, they only measure in 3 places in the whole Sierra. Here we have a whole network of things that are doing that. And so students go out there and collect the data for those types of things. So we also have direct connections with the national park. We've done about 5 or 6 senior capstone designs related to them. So for the environmental ones, we're trying to make a a smart outhouse. I'll just leave it at that. We don't need to go any farther, but those kinds of things that we do.
Okay, so question about engineering graduation rates. What's the percentage of engineering students that graduate in 4 years?
Okay, I can kind of address that. It depends what we're talking. In actually exactly 4 years, probably about maybe a little less than 20%. If they start as an engineering student and they graduate as an engineering student. It increases quite a bit between 4 and 5. And there's a couple reasons for that. So one is we have to ensure that students take the required number of classes every year. They have to take really 4 classes each semester if they're going to graduate on time. Although to be considered a full-time student, they only need to take 3 classes at least for financial aid purposes. So there's a slight disconnect there. And the other reason is those placement tests that Carlos talked about, if you're not placed immediately into, say, the calculus math 21, you will be behind. The only way to catch up then is to go to summer school. So if you're able to do that, you do. Now that number has been creeping upwards in terms of the 4-year graduation, but so that's where it is right now, 4 years. But it's not because the courses are not available. That's rarely the reason. Very rarely the reason.
So is it recommended, would you recommend, both of you, that students have their own laptops if they're coming to the School of Engineering to study this next year?
So the School of Engineering does have a laptop policy. It does require students to have that, but if a student does not have a laptop prior to it, and we do have specifications online as well available to students, so that you know if it meets our specifications. But if you do not have a laptop, there is a program in place that you can work with financial aid to secure a laptop once you come onto campus so that you do have a laptop. There's also a laptop loaner program through the Undergraduate Education Center, and they will allow you to borrow a laptop for a specific amount of time. So typically for them, it's done semester by semester. So there are a lot of different ways to do that. On campus, we also have several computer labs that you can utilize.
So a question about the new civil engineering program. When will civil engineering be available for transfer students? And can you elaborate a little bit more on civil engineering and how it differs from environmental engineering?
Sure. So for transfer students that are really ready to transfer into their junior year, so we are opening civil engineering starting at the freshman level. So that's fall 2021. So that would not really be open until fall 23 for transfer students directly into that. So that would be that consideration. So how will civil engineering differ from environmental engineering? Well, civil engineering, actually, a little history lesson. In the really old days, we're talking like 1700s, in those days, there were only 2 kinds of engineering: military engineering and civil engineering, hence its name. So every other one, mechanical, electrical, computer, not really computer, as I said, it came from math. All those electrical, all those traditional ones, chemical, they actually stem from civil engineering. So civil engineering is a broader thing, and environmental actually comes out of civil engineering. So we are expanding the breadth to include things like transportation, sustainable transportation systems, and those types of things, sustainable buildings, infrastructure types of things. And so it will extend beyond the normal water quality types of things, air quality things. It will venture into other things, but always with that sustainable focus. We're trying to make things that are sustainable.
Couple of questions about what type of software and equipment students need to have to start the next year. So one specific question, what type of computer software or program should I download for environmental engineering?
Well, I think we have a site license for all the Microsoft products, so O365 things. So that's normal. In terms of other software, it depends on classes, and I don't really know per se the environmental engineering ones, but another common one that's used at a higher level is something called COMSOL, which is a program that's for doing, I'll call it numerical modeling. And so in that respect, yes, we also have a license for that too. So that's available. So purchasing it, probably I would wait and see. It's not really an advantage to purchase it because a lot of it is available to our students. Now, once you get familiar with it, then, and you're out in the working world, then maybe you do want to do that, but then hopefully your employer will purchase those. But generally speaking, all the software that you need is available here. So just another one would be like for geographical information systems, ArcInfo, that's available on the campus site license. And so no, don't need to purchase it. That one would be very expensive to buy, actually.
Gotcha. So just a general question, is there a website or a resource link that students could go to find out what type of laptops they might need to have for next year? And that's also, there's also another question that kind of follows along the same lines. What type of scientific calculator might be needed for incoming engineering students?
There is a website, and I think we can have it posted about the requirements or what are the recommended things for the laptops and different things. We can post that and make it available. I can't type it up right now, but we can do that. The other thing is that we do ask all the students to purchase them, particularly right now. If we continue this mode, it's very important that they have a laptop that has a camera and all that kind of stuff, because it's an important part of how we're doing this right now even. So, and the second part of the question was, what was that?
A scientific calculator. What kind of calculator do folks bring?
So, it needs to do trigonomic functions and logarithmic types of things. It doesn't have to be anything super fancy. Actually, the thing normal calculator you had in high school will be sufficient for that. If you did physics or anything like that. There's nothing really special these days. In the old days, you had a programmable calculator. You probably don't need that because you got a laptop. Mm-hmm. And actually, Excel will become your best friend.
Here's a question for you. How much access do students have to the machine shop on campus?
Students are required.
How much access? Go ahead.
No, students are required to take a class prior to having access to the machine shop. So there are classes that are offered on a semester basis, and you register for the class, you take the class, and then you can participate and go into the machine shop.
So just for information purposes, we just opened a brand new machine shop in one of the new buildings. And adjacent to that is actually, we have a maker space. So there's a lot of new 3D printers in it, as well as a metal 3D printer. So students will have to be trained on those to use, but we do provide access to them. The main concern, of course, is safety. So that's why they have to be trained, and we have to make sure they have a buddy system in place.
Okay, another coding language question about the CSE placement exam. What coding language will the CSE placement exam be given in?
So the placement exam has has about 3 different things that it will test, and we will be publishing what material the placement exam covers in the next week, and it will go out through your admissions information and portal and things like that. But essentially, it's one of the questions asks you about how to find things on the line. So it's testing your basic programming skills, your basic skills, computer skills, to make sure that we put you into a level that is correct at where you're at currently. So it's not necessarily going to test you in like JavaScript and things like that and ask you to do something very specific, but it is going to also, it's going to test you on the basics.
And this one goes to a graduation requirement. Is there any writing skills test that our engineering graduates need to take in order to graduate?
You do have to take a an upper division writing course in your time here. What that looks like is a little dependent on your general education requirements. So some students, like mechanical engineers, will get that done with their upper division materials class. So it's really dependent on your major. Some students will be required to take an actual upper division writing course, but there is no writing examination that you have to pass. There's more of a class that you have to pass.
So this question is I haven't seen asked before. So what graduate programs are available for prosthetic and artificial organ engineering, if any?
Okay, graduate programs, artificial I'll call it artificial organs and those types of things. So let's talk about that. We do have a couple things. So in the biomaterials, science and engineering graduate program, there are people that work on tissue engineering. So that's basically growing tissues for different purposes, particularly for replacements of things like for blood vessels and a lot of those types of things. There's also a small but an emerging group, and we're moving towards it in terms of mechanical. So mechatronics is an important part of it, but also in the computer science. So this is where a lot of things cross. In the computer science or electrical engineering computer science graduate program, they work on robotic systems that include, but robotic devices for diagnostic types of things. A lot of those are more sensors. We don't work on things like robotic surgery because of the things. We're not associated with a medical school directly, so we wouldn't do those kinds of things. So we work on primarily the things that are on the periphery, but our faculty do work on teams that may directly work with them. So we have, as I said, relationships with UC San Francisco where they may be working on. I'm not sure of any direct projects at the moment, but I know that they do collaborate in certain areas. That may not be exactly your answer you're looking for, but we do explore those things.
Great. So in the computer program, our courses focus on the CI/CD process that is used in many software companies.
That one, I can't tell you, to be honest. That would be one that we would direct to our computer science department chair, could answer that question. So we'll be sure to get that answer for you.
Great. So the next question for you, regarding bioengineering, this person is exceptionally eager. When can I join an undergraduate research program on campus, such as McCloskey Lab? Can I join in my freshman year?
Yes, you can.
You can, but really it depends on this. I'll just give a word of encouragement. This would go for internships. You have to be willing to go talk to them. You need to go reach out and talk to the faculty people that you're really interested in what they're doing. That's the best way to make the connection. Unfortunately, we don't place everybody and say, oh, we're going to put you in that lab. No, it doesn't work like that. The faculty member, you need to develop a dialogue and a relationship with them to understand your comfort level, what you're trying to achieve. They really want to help you achieve what your goals are, but you also you need to understand also a little bit about what they're trying to achieve in their work as well. So Kara does have quite a number of undergraduates working with her.
That's great. So another question regarding opportunities for undergraduates. What opportunities do undergraduates have with the stem cell lab on campus?
Well, Kara is in that too. So that requires training as well. The other people that work a lot in that area are in molecular and cell biology, which is over in the other school of natural sciences. So it worked. So primarily, it doesn't seem like you would think it would be in the bioengineering area. It's mostly in the materials because it's a biomaterials area. we're trying to grow tissues and different things. And so CARE is, there's some other ones that work indirectly into there. There's Professor Andresen. He works in that area as well as a little bit does Professor Wong in the biomaterials science and engineering program.
Great. Okay. So just to kind of go over one more question about placement exams, because they seem to be fairly popular today, and then we'll move on to some other questions. So is there a set date by which incoming students need to complete their math and chemistry examinations?
So all 3 placement exams, math, chemistry, and CSE, have the same date and time deadline of June 1st at 4 p.m. So if you receive errors or issues while you're taking the exam, there are on the Q&A for each one of them. Like I said, CSE will be up by the end of this week, this upcoming week. But on their websites, they do have a contact email. Contact that email address and just say, hey, I'm having an issue. Here's my student ID number. Here's my email address. Please respond to me. And they will get back to you. June 1st, 4 p.m.
Great. So we are at the 5-minute mark, and I just like to remind everyone that we will be recording today's session, and we will make it available for you sometime early next week. So if you don't have any of your questions answered, again, you can come back to the Bobcat Day website, and you can view this recording at any time. We will also be doing a few other webinars, both this week and next week, where you can join us. And I believe, Carla, you're going to be a part of that, that next presentation.
Yeah.
With some of our engineering students as well, who can answer your questions about what it's like to be an engineer at UC Merced.
Mm-hmm.
So another question we want to take before we close today's session: are there courses on cybersecurity?
So cybersecurity is a broad topic area. So in all of the courses that involve software and also networking and network types of things, there are principles of cybersecurity as part of the course. There's not a separate course, although that may be an area that will be, and actually would be one that we would be developing a master's track for.
Okay. Great. Question about the classroom experience. What percentage of your mechanical engineering classes are taught by graduate students instead of professors?
I can answer that, 0. No, they're not taught by graduate students. The only thing the graduate students do, they are teaching assistants, they do those kinds of things, and they may lead discussions, but they don't teach the classes.
And that's an outstanding answer. So I think a lot of people are curious about the civil engineering program that's going to be starting in fall 2021. From both of your experiences, what should we be expecting from the civil engineering program in the years to come?
Well, I think we should expect that it will, as soon as we can get one graduate out the door, we will be seeking accreditation, ABET accreditation. Civil engineering is one of the programs in which it's important for a professional career to seek licensure. And so having an ABET accredited program is very important for that. So that will be one of the things that will be sought. They've already, just to give you where they are, they've already established a engineering advisory board that's made up of people, working professionals, as well as department chairs from other civil engineering programs and alumni that have been environmental engineers from our program that are now working as, quote, civil engineers. So there's a lot of input in that. And so there will be a lot of movement in there. So a lot of the focus will be on using actually a lot of software things. So, so how to use the different, so most of our students learn SolidWorks as their computer-aided design program. In civil engineering, it's going to be AutoCAD. And they'll also learn a lot about geographic information systems, usage of those things and design work at different things. So it will be a very, I'll call it modern. So compared to when I was a student, we were using surveying equipment where you had to measure the temperature when you were pulling the steel tape. Those days are long gone, so a lot of modern equipment that's going there. There'll be a lot of basic things that they would learn. We're not doing research in these areas, but we will cover courses on concrete design, structural analysis, and all those different things. Those are just standard civil engineering courses that we will be preparing the students for. But we hope to have a lot of internships because there's a lot of companies up and down the valley that are looking for civil engineering students, and we hope to provide through our new major students to fill their needs.
Definitely sounds like some exciting prospects for that major in the future. So we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to end today's session. So the next question is, will UC Merced add a mechatronics program in the future?
Is that you mean a major? Because really the mechatronics. So in mechanical engineering, so the people that work in mechatronics, there's one in computer science and there's one in mechanical. The one who's most well known for mechatronics work is also the same person who does all the drone work. So in essence, I mean, there is a mechatronics course in mechanical engineering, but there's not going to be a specific major on it.
Okay, and then for our last question today, just to plug the upcoming engineering presentation that we're going to have as a part of our webinar series. Carla, when is that scheduled for?
That is scheduled for Wednesday the 29th from 6 to 7 p.m. We will have 3 students available to answer questions. I will be online as well to answer a couple additional questions that you might have. Awesome. And then if you haven't done so already, you can sign up to attend that workshop by going to admitted.ucmerced.edu/webinars. So I'd just like to take a moment to thank our expert panelists today. Thank you both to Dean Matsumoto and Carla for your assistance with answering these questions today. We hope you found this particular session useful. Again, don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have additional questions. So we will be providing a recording of this webinar in the next 2 to 3 days, and you can view it at bobcatday.ucmerced.edu. Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your virtual Bobcat Day.
Yes, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Bye for now.
Bye.